In this module, we're going to continue our discussion on security and compliance. Now, in the previous module, we introduced security and governance for Office 365 services, and in this module, we're going to look how to configure compliance and data protection options that are available in Office 365. And that will entail us discussing 4 separate components: the security and compliance options that are available to us, the compliance manager, the Office 365 encryption options, as well as a tour/test drive of the Security and Compliance Center. As we're looking through this module, we're going to continue our discussion on these 5 components. In our previous module, we went into a deep dive on the top 3 items here, which is the e-discovery, the process of identifying and delivering electronic information that can be used as evidence in legal cases. We also talked about governance, and Microsoft's definition of that is the set of policies, the roles, the responsibilities, and the processes that control how an organization's business divisions and IT teams work together to achieve its company goals. And we talked about the Secure Store, which is the service that provides storage and mappings of credentials such as account names and passwords, primarily used when accessing external data sources. And we reviewed the integration with the BCS, and I introduced and showed you how to determine what your Secure Score is. Be sure to understand the difference between Secure Store and Secure Score. And in this module, we're going to continue our discussion on security and compliance, and we're going to focus on compliance, which is managed through the Compliance Manager, and this allows you to track, assign, and verify an organization's regulatory compliance activities that are related to Microsoft's professional services, and we introduce these as the cloud services like Office 365, your Dynamics 365, and Azure. And we're going to continue our discussion in this module regarding the protection of data, how we can protect the data stored in Office 365 and monitor whether or not it's being shared, that the protection of data is country-based and categorized, for instance, the finance and health information, and I'll show you a couple other categories when you get in there as well. So this is how we're going to continue this journey on security and compliance in Office 365. Let's begin by talking about compliance options. One of the things that we're going to want to do is audit users' behavior and admins for most of your Office 365 services. SharePoint Online, Exchange, Sway, Power BI, Teams, Dynamics, Yammer, Flow, Stream, user and admin activity can all be monitored within all of these products, and it's something that you're going to want to do. You're going to want to audit that, and you're going to want to monitor that. And in addition to auditing, we're going to want to take advantage of the tenant security options that we have available to us, including threat management policies, the security and compliance dashboards, and ways for us to configure security settings in individual services. So as an example, that means within SharePoint Online, within OneDrive for Business, within Teams, we have specific settings within the individual services. And we can take advantage of audit logging by enabling it on the audit logs search page in the Security and Compliance Center. We can set up retention period of audit logs, and we can also perform searches of these audit logs. We don't have to trudge through pages and pages and lines of audits. And as we've already discussed and explored, we can determine how secure our tenant is by determining what our secure score is and taking steps to improve that score, which in turn will improve security. So we want to make sure that we take advantage of these Office 365 compliance options to help us stay within compliance. Now, some of the other Office 365 compliance options that we can use, we have the data governance policy. And this includes retention and label policies as well as supervision policies. We discussed that in that previous module as well. We have the Transport Layer Protocol TLS 1.2, and this can be used to detect vulnerable or risky accounts. We can investigate risk events, and we can create risk-based conditional access policies. We have also what's called Customer Key for managing encryption keys. This is set up in Azure. This is available in specific Office 365 subscriptions or via the Advanced Compliance SKU, which means you can buy that and add that to your Office 365 subscription. We also have conditional access available with Intune, and this provides both device-based and app-based conditional access. And another very powerful tool that we have available to us is the Compliance Manager, which provides a workflow-based risk assessment tool. There's a dashboard to view these assessments, standards, as well as regulations. We can track, assign and verify any of the regulatory compliance activities. We can use this to optimize compliance workloads by logically grouping assessments together, therefore reducing duplication of efforts, we're going to be performing group assessments. We also have our compliance score. This is an expression of the company's compliance for a specific standard or regulation as a number. The higher score means more in compliance. We saw that with our secure score. And this information can be gathered from the https://servicetrust.microsoft.com. We also have Office 365 encryption options that we can take advantage of. We have O365 message encryption, or OM, and this is built on Azure's rights management system. We have transport rules that we can define when messages are encrypted. We can use a DKM, or distributed key management. This is used by Exchange Online, and only members of specific Active Directory services group can access these keys. And of course, we have data encryption policies, or DEP, which is where we create two keys which are stored in two different Azure key vaults. These are assigned to users' mailboxes, and they're also assigned to SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business content. And this allows us to protect our data stored in Office 365. Now, most of this is done through the Security and Compliance Center, but we do have some PowerShell commands we can use. We have the verb-ps session. The verbs are new, connect, disconnect, or enter. This allows us to manage a persistent connection to either a local or remote computer. We have a connect-IP PS session, which can only be used through the Exchange Online Remote PowerShell module, but this allows us to connect to security and compliance using MFA, or multi-factor authentication. In addition to that, we also have the option to use the set admin audit log config. This can be enabled or disabled for your audit log searches. We can use the test-IRM configuration, test to be sure your OEM capabilities are configured correctly. We have a new data encryption policy, which is used to create new DEPs. We talked about the OMEs and the DEPs just previously. We can use the set mailbox commandlet to assign a DEP to a user's mailbox. We can retrieve information about a user's mailbox using the get-mailbox statistics. This will determine if the mailbox is encrypted and also retrieve the GUID of that mailbox. We also have the verb-SPO data encryption policy. And the verbs are register as well as get as well as update. And this allows us to register a DEP to begin encryption in SharePoint Online. You can also use a get command along with the GUID to return a friendly name of the DEP associated with that mailbox. And we can use the update SPO data encryption policy, and this updates the keys used to encrypt the SharePoint Online and the OneDrive for Business content. So about a half a dozen or so PowerShell commandlets that can be used for managing connectivity, auditing, and encryption of your content stored in Office 365.